This talk is about monotheism, its bright and dark sides, and you can ask what has this to do with these three old Christmas figures in the woods. I had guests yesterday and I served dinner for them, and so I had these blankets and sheets on the table, and one was left over this morning. So I sat like dwelling on these three beautiful and happy old men, giving us this sense of tranquility and peace and harmony, huh? And not the least, the idea that everything is nice and well and in good order and shape and balance, everything that was basically mostly dreaming of and lacking in the world, not only of today, but if you look through all the history of the world. There is also this side of it I saw in monotheism as the three old men, the three old figures, the Moses, the Jesus, the Muhammad, the Torah, the evangelical texts, and the Quran, all together. And I know this is a weird story for really many people who hasn't really got that sense of awareness of um, the commonship of these three religions. Uh, Another thing I also wanted to show with this sheet is to say there is a light and a dark side of everything, also the monotheistic religions, and that can be a hard thing to grasp for monotheists because they believe their religion, of course, is the pure light, and it comes from the source that is the God, who is pure light, pure energy of goodness. Darkness doesn't allow itself. There is no shadow to that one God, or is there? Maybe not to the God, and I believe it's not in the God or for the God himself, the monotheistic God, but in the religions that has been come into the world. We definitely have seen a lot of dark sides. Is that enough to make us turn away from them? I don't believe so. And that's why they kept having followers, and people who kept believing in them got passionate about them through all generations and ages, because they found an integration of this dark or dim light that is in, because every strong light casts a shadow on the other side in the human nature. It's not necessarily like this in the godly nature, because we don't know what kind of nature that is, but we can only understand the God through the ways he or that God speaks to us. And if we take the monotheistic religions, the God is speaking to us through these stories and books and what can you say, rules and laws that is given to us in life to follow, whether you are a Jew or a Christian or a Muslim or just a seeker, a fellow spiritual seeker. You will see that all of these religions cast a long shadow on reality, on themselves, on the way they also are practiced, not the least. And now, to clarify, this is neither like an attack or a defense on the monotheistic religions, maybe a passionate look on how I would love to see them, and many others would love to see them, and how they basically can be. So you see these three old brothers there walking together in that wood in harmony, and they seem happy and glad. Everything is white and green around them. This is what we not only relate to Christmas time and the birth of the Savior, the Christ, in the Christian belief, but also the Muslim and part of the Jews. They would also recognize the birth of the Savior as an idea. This is not only because of that, but it's also because of our deeper longing for that harmony, that beauty, that idealism. Many of us who are really taken by spirituality are seekers of a deeper meaning and a greater idealism. And those who are totally turned away from that, it's because they have given up on that, or maybe doesn't seem to have found it in the way of the monotheist religions. So here we have a kind of duality that is very strange, actually, because you find you are attracted and appalled by the same aspects, the same thing that has been drawing you to it, the magnetic force of the monotheistic religions. But how would I love to see them as brethren working together to spread this whiteness and greenness and goodness, harmony and love and peace, tranquility among people and humans around the world. This is what they tell you, each of them, that they are doing or want to do. The Jews will tell you that they are the chosen people and the chosen religion and the chosen monotheistic way. And the Christians would say, with Christ came the salvation. God made the ultimate sacrifice of part of him made in human form, whether you believe in that or not. It's the basic idea that kept going on in Christianity, that the Savior, whether you believe he is part of God or not, the Savior is the Christ. And by that sacrifice he gave on order from God, or because he was part of that godly realm in Christianity, of course. um, it doesn't matter. What matters is there has been some salvation, a way, a gate, a path. And then you get the Muslims who try to also put the main focus on God's name and the worship of God, consequences of not doing so, and the criticism of both Christianity and Judaism, but also a kind of embrace of these two brethren at the same time. And so you see, they could have been more in harmony because they basically have the same message. This is what I've loved to have seen. The shadow side of these three brothers is, I can see, well, a lot of issues. Of course, most of it related to the humans themselves, because if you talk to a Jew or a Christian or a Muslim and they try to explain and defend their faith, they will tell you, well, the weaknesses, they come from us humans, while every wisdom and greatness and fulfillment, it comes from God's words as they are put forward in the text or through the prophets. And so you will see that defense and that kind of division between what is human, what is not, and that's in a way a reasonable division, because they understand the world as well fallen, and humans as evil and not so good inside them. They are some kind of beasts. That's why when you talk to Jewish people, you will see, Jewish scholars, and you ask them about the Torah and the way the stories unfold, they can be horrible and horrific to read sometimes about these good and wonderful prophets. They will tell you, and I have had these talks, some of them told me, well, it's actually reflecting the realism of man, of humans. Even the prophets are just humans. They can envy, they can love, they want something, they have lust, they can fall into the deep pit of despair and hatred and darkness like everybody else. Well, this is opposed by especially the Muslims, who had this great idealistic view of the prophets as people who have been like elevated to a higher sense of being, so that they don't need to fall into these deep pits, because they are the saviors of the religion of God's name, but they are also the ones who show the way, so they lead and take us along. So the Muslims and the Jews would have a big argument over that here, whilst the Christians will stand in the middle, saying, well, doesn't matter, guys, we have the Christ and he has saved you all on both sides, so let's walk together from here. I can clearly hear that in my head, how the Christians would reply to this. And it's so nice to hear them just discuss and talk, if they could agree and not hate each other. But so you see a difference in the Jewish texts, where you get these stories of prophets really falling into some kind of really deep, dark actions. You'd say, oh no, what's going on? Well, on the other side, you have the Muslims who have clarified the prophets of all weaknesses. It's like they become superhuman in a way, to keep that idealistic picture up above our heads. But so they will reply, all of them, if you talk about the dark side of religion and the monotheistic religions, they would make this division, that it's because it's human traces. It is because of who we are, the mud, the lust, the psyche, the whatever is also inside us, and taking us away and astray from living in harmony under God's fulfilling sight. And so when you talk to them like this and they answer, they say, well, this is natural. God is one thing, totally complete, divine, above any mistakes and faults like we do. But as humans, well, what can you say? We are who we are, and so we are taken in by our nature, and that's why all religion are false and have problems, because man is fallen, humans are fallen, and we cannot get this idealism. But these texts, these revelations, the prophets, the books, God's name is a way, a light in the darkness. It shows you where to go. So you're not left here on this earth in total darkness as some see it. They see we are in totally cynical. I've heard these cynical ideas, especially from people who are atheistic and does not really wanna see that kind of light that shines on us from the religions that has been on earth. They would just say this is all fantasies and idealistic views that doesn't have any path on earth, and they have never practiced it. It's just a means of power. And so they see it very cynically. And some philosophers do that as well. We know that from the existential philosophers, some of them, Sartre and partly Camus, and you have several other dark figures looking at the earth as a place for punishment and suffering. Schopenhauer is a famous example of that. And you see, they will say, it doesn't matter whether you believe in these religions or not. They are not true lights. They are also a bunch of new suffering. You just make yourself believe that they are like they are. It's a kind of taking a drug. And this cynical view is really opposed by the monotheistic religions, each by like himself. I have not really heard them talking in chorus about this, but they should. They will tell you that no, because we are fallen and we have this free will and we can do whatever we like, we can build up societies on power and misuse and abuse and a structure that can be false and bad. We have God's light shining on us all the way. If you find it and see it, you can be drawn toward it and go and explore it and find some good news there. So I imagine life as this cynical reality that has nothing to do with these three men walking in that forest with this white snow beneath them and these happy faces. It's like, how would it be if there is no way to turn? Like I've been a spiritual seeker for many years, and I've been part of these religions as well, especially the Muslim and Christian, and have friends among the Jews, and I like to hear their deep talks and some of the respect they have for their texts and the light that comes from the words of the God. So I see, if we didn't have that as a guidance, if I didn't have these notions that comes from the one God, where would I be? So I went to explore the Chinese people and met with some of the Chinese who have never heard about monotheism, just ordinary people, Chinese people. And even there, I found there was some kind of light in their life that comes from another source that could resemble the monotheistic ideas, but in different ways. This is another talk about the Eastern religions and how they also resemble the light of the one God. But I'm just saying that the three religions will try to tell you there is more beyond the cynical reality. We have made it like this because we have lost hope in being good and in pulling ourselves up of the gutter and the mud and whatever is surrounding us of darkness in the pit we are in life. And so we've made this suffering stronger and harder on ourselves. We could have found some tranquility and peace and easiness if we could turn collectively and individually, especially towards that one guide and try to evolve in ourselves and in the way we are as human beings. They will tell you this is the very important source, the only source we can find on earth. And so we come to the dark side and the shadow of it, because whoever explores these religions can sooner or later find and realize there are some troubles there, not the least with the humans leading these religions, using their sources as means of power. Egoism can thrive in their inner selves, and they can for years and years go on pushing around with people, excommunicating as they want, sending people to hell, putting them out of their religious families like they do. I've seen the Muslims, scholars do that with individuals where they make a sentence on them because of their ideas or their views or whatever. Even nice, polite people, you would think they are evil and devilish, But when you read what they have been saying or talk to them, you just find they are maybe confused or maybe not really clear about what they are saying, but they're really trying to find the light in some kind of spiritualism and have spoken about it more openly than others. They can be sent out of the religious frames and lose all kind of grounds for their family and inheritance and ownership. Some can even be persecuted or be killed. If that isn't a dark shadow, I don't know what it is. And the same goes for the Christians, who in these days and these maybe centuries have the golden age of the PR. Like they are seen as the most what can you say, lovable and loving and tolerant type of religion. And that's not true. Ask the Jews; they will tell you all the secrets of the Christians and the Christian faith and their dogmas. It really doesn't hold up when you look at it. It's like a big gate. Once you get inside, you will immediately be taken by all kind of divisions and a lot of intolerance. I tell you, there are really a lot of narrow-minded people within these Christian frames and the groups who try to get you to their way, and if they fail or they see you with others, they change their mind. They can pretend to be your friends and go on liking you and all that, but they realize, well, this guy is lost or this woman is lost and she's with the opponents. And some of them doesn't even hide it. They will go and persecute some of the people who leave their groups. It's really not all that glorious sight as we were meant to be believe. There is a lot of hidden, what can you say, mislogic and feelings that becomes very and I think Nietzsche spoke a lot about that and tried to also say that the worst kind of religions are the ones who feed on feelings, but hides its hatred. You know, it's better to show the hatred in the hearts, as Gandhi would say, than to hide it, and then it becomes a very sore, hurting issue. And this is the problem with the modern Christianity, that they want to show so much tolerance some places that it contradicts that they also have limits and have things they can't accept. And so they try to hide it to show that total tolerance, and it goes sour and it becomes a deeper hatred and divisions and intolerance among themselves and against others. Going to the oldest of these three brothers, the Jewish religion, and you will find, and I know that from also a Jewish rabbi whom I met with in my country here in the West. Very fine old man, now he's dead, passed away. His father was also a rabbi and writer. He would nod and tell you, maybe one on one, well, we Jews are not better than all the others. We also have hatred among ourselves and divisions, and we do not like our ways internally. And they can be very intolerant also in the way they view the text or understand the truth about them. What's holding them together is, of course, that they are fewer than others and they maybe don't have the, what can you say, they don't have the need to go and pull their religion up, like upon the heads of other people. They see themselves as chosen people, and so it's by the blood that you are part of the Jews. You cannot like become it really. Even if you become it, you will be second, third, fourth rate. And we've seen that with some of the Jewish groups who also went to Israel and lived there, and they can tell you some stories about that. Yeah, that's some truth we have to face in these three religions, that they are maybe not so tolerant as they would like us to believe. And they will like us to show that the God they are representing is the most tolerant, merciful, accepting, open-handed one. And I believe God is that. I have a belief in the one God and in a monotheistic God. That's why I'm talking about this, because I believe in that God, and I believe that God is there and has this unimaginable wisdom, tolerance, understanding. But at the same time, as it's put forward in the scriptures and shown by the people who represent the religions, this God can be, some would call him cruel, intolerant. not only cruel in face of the disasters in nature, where he doesn't really help people, just let things happen, disasters and so on, but he promised a compensation for everything that's going to happen to you as human. It's like you're in a game in this world, and if things happen like disasters that's out of your control, earthquakes, tornadoes, whatever, fires that extinguish your life, you will get a compensation, so you will become happy. You won't be left alone. So you're never a loser when it comes to that God, one God. But at the same time, this God has limits and has shown these limits in the text, like the Jewish text, the Christian, and the Muslim text. And these limits are to be upheld if the world is going to be in balance and order according to the religious people I've been speaking to and the books I've been reading about it for many, many years, and also been part of it. So it's like they're saying, well, God wants us to punish people who gets out of line. And we have to do it. If we want to be good Muslims, good Christians, good Jews, we have to uphold the way of the God. It's not enough to say we love the God. It has also to show in some fruits in your ways and action and how we organize ourselves individually, in families, and in society. So when that doesn't happen and people go away from the main path, they see that it's their duty to pull people back. And that's what people misunderstand about some of the big religions, especially the Catholicism, and why they persecuted the small groups. We sometimes look at it, oh, all these groups who have been persecuted by the evil Catholics and the popes who have been persecuting people. That's true. And they have been persecuted, and that's bad and evil and not so good. But what's the motivation for that? Maybe it's pure evilness. Yeah, I can deny that. But most of the time, the arguments are not evil. The arguments are, we are the main road to salvation. We are saving the name of the God and the Christ the Savior from everyone who's trying to take the path that isn't the right way. And so they allow themselves, in the name of the God, and in one day they find in the both Old and New Testament of limits and ways to put up these consequences and say, well, we have to persecute people, or we have to do something about it so we don't lose our grounds, our power, our way of life. And so they see that it's like the God is blessing their inquisition, their persecution. They are making these heathens become enlightened in the Christ. They are showing them the way to heavens in chains. I know some Christians would oppose this and say, no, this is not the right way. And they have big discussions about this internally, and big names among Christian theologians in history and in our time. I've also heard them at conferences. They would tell you this is not the way of the Christ at all, and we oppose Christians who try to do that. And this is a very negative and dark side of the Catholic Church, which it also has revised. They have been working for 50 or 100 years now in different councils and groups to revise some of these practices and to sometimes apologize. We see the Pope from time to time, whatever Pope is in the seat, he will go out and apologize for some action or something that happened to a people that the Catholics met in the history of the humankind. And so we see the dark side of these three old men who are walking hand in hand reveal itself in more than one way. It reveals itself in the shadows, where they are not in harmony as they should be. They can hate each other really deep, maybe more than they hate the enemy they should hate, like anybody who's opposing them from the outside. And so we have seen in history on numerous occasions where they make alliances with some forces that are completely different from their own values and views, just to crush the opposition. Like, I just recall 2 or 3 incidents. One of them is when the Christians, especially the Eastern Christians, they made the appeal to the Mongol kings to invade the southeastern world of the Muslims. This is historically documented, because they wanted to crush this big growing cancer, as they saw it, of the Muslims taking over and over and over and trying to get into Europe numerous times. and crushing the last bastions of Christianity and so on. And they already were in Spain. And so the Mongol invasion was also indiced by some of the forces. Some say it goes all the way to the seat of the Pope in the Byzantine Empire. Another incident is when the the Jews, they turned on both the Christians and the Muslims from the inside and took their communities down, allying themselves with some evil men and evil forces. I know all this is not something people know about or can document really clearly, but I know history sometimes shows us the signs of it. Um, and unfortunately, they like try to get out of some trouble, but they create a new one. It's like we have this story of the big evil hydra or dragon that is unleashed to to take out some kind of opponent. But once you've unleashed it, you cannot put it back again. You cannot control it. It's out of control. And I believe deeply this is what happened several times in history. And I know some people who know this, they understand the consequences of what has been happening to them, and the way they try to turn the tables on both the Christians, the Muslims, if it is the Jewish community indeed, who is trying to bring the balance back or to take power back. They need to unleash some forces they don't like and they do not agree with, but they see them as the only allies to get rid of their opponents. Sometimes they have been betraying themselves. Also, we know the history of some of the Jewish groups who betrayed their own brothers, other Jewish groups and Israelites, to the Romans, to the Greek, to the Muslims, to whoever were in power. So there have always been these troubles. And when you come to the Christians, you find the same thing. One of these histories is the alliances between the Turks and the French, the Swedish and the Turks in Middle Eastern times, where they want to crush the second pope or the Byzantine Empire or Rome or whatever they see is against their way of belief or ideas. It's not only kings who went astray, it's also some religious figures who saw, well, we are ready to ally even with the devil, which at that time they saw as the Turkish sultans. They saw them as the representatives of the big devil because that was the biggest power that opposed the Christian one. And so they have this mentality that I got really deeply sick of, both when I read theology, history, arguments, and hear them talk in groups and hear them talk in conferences. It's like they see themselves as the only way to the light, and the others are the evil, and they have to crush it by all means. Some have this idea very deeply rooted, and they keep giving it on from generation to the generation. So what becomes of these three brothers walking in the snow with the trees behind them? It's a fake picture, and it cannot not be done. And so you will tell me, what are you talking about? This cannot be done. This is an imagination of yours to think that these two religions ever will unite or can unite. But when you look at it from above, from the God, the monotheistic, there is only one God view, you'll see this God, I don't know, he, she, or what substance this God is of. We've never been told. This God will look and see, what are you people, what are you three brothers doing? The hatred and the problems among you is far beyond the reach. And so it's idealistic and not really, it has no place on earth. And that makes many people turn away from monotheism. But if you become aware of these dark sides, maybe you will find the light as well, and you will see the good sides of it. So you don't completely shut your mind and your ideas down, saying, I don't want to have anything to do with this. This is evil and darkness and madness. Because there is also this source of light that is in the monotheistic religions. They are basically controlling the cultures in the world. I know they are not doing that directly all the time, but look closely. You will see that the monotheistic ideas between the Israelites is what's forming their society and views and position. You go to the Americas and you see the Christian deeply founded idea of the one God, no to the heathen gods and so on, among both the people and the rulers and people on higher levels. And they believe in the salvation and believe that they are sinners and evil and bad people, and they have only one road, and that's God's mercy. They cannot salvage themselves. And everybody understands that on one level or another. Some are more aware of it than others, more are more conscious of it than others. But you find it deeply rooted as a culture, as a way of life, as a way of thinking. And go to the rest of the world that is affected by the Muslims, and you will find the same trait, the one God and the mercy that He brings to you through the light, and you try to follow the path, but you are too weak to do so. This is what the Quran also is telling. So you see, they are all sending the same rooted message out in the cultures. Even if you go beyond these three religions, go to the Far East, and I know some historians has been trying to look into that. I don't know where they are, but I sometimes found traces when I read the Eastern mythology and stories. You find the inspiration they gave to the monotheistic world, and vice versa. The inspiration that came from the monotheists into these Eastern religions made them also organize their life and their stories more in accordance with it. So when you talk about the British in India, or before them the Portuguese and the tradesmen from Holland and France and so on, Spanish tradesmen, and the Muslim tradesmen who came to big parts of Eastern Asia, you find they're bringing with them this basic culture of monotheism, this light to show the people we have to organize life in a way so it becomes bearable. And we have never to abandon hope. This basic idea that never abandon hope, I found it in all three religions, in all three texts, in all three preachers, in all three ways. They keep repeating it and saying, well, never ever lose hope in God's mercy and goodness and forgiveness in you. This is what God wants you to. He wants you to taste the despair, understand that you are suffering, face that suffering, but always know you cannot lift yourself up by your cleverness or goodness or whatever you try to do. I know many people think that Jews are all about doing good deeds and following the rules, but they also have a deeper layer than that, which are spoken about by their big rabbis, and they also say basically the same. You ally yourself with the light of God, and only that can lift you up to do the deeds and to follow in the steps of the prophets and to try to live up to the commandments. Otherwise, you are lost. And if God's anger comes and befalls you, you cannot turn your face towards Him again. He will turn His face away from you. You find that reflected in the Muslim faith also very strongly. And then you go to the Christian, and you see basically they're all about telling you God's mercy and love is the only salvation. I know the Catholic Church and some other big Christian groups will tell us it's not only the salvation by love and by belief, but the deeds as well has to be counted. Otherwise, you will be a cheater. You're saying I'm a believer. The others would, in the Christian faith, would reply and say, no, the belief will bring you to do the good deeds, but it's the belief only that can save you, nothing else. Believe in the Christ, in the Savior, in the sacrifice, in God's love, in what happened, that amazing miracle, and you are already within the realms of salvation, because you cannot as human lift yourself up to become good. You can try, but you will fall and fail, because there is evil inside us. We are fallen, and thereby the evil has taken over, but there is this dim light in the far distance. Get near to it, accept it, take it into your heart and life, and you will transform. Things will change for you, and you will find the hope. So they are all basically telling us in their bright side, never ever lose hope. And we have it as a saying from Abraham, and I remember it most clearly from the Quran. He says that do not lose hope in God's mercy. Only those who are disbelievers lose that hope. So, or give up on that hope. So you see, it's a basic, um, what can you say, attraction for you human. We are in a lost position and we are in big trouble as humans in life. But unfortunately, it's not pure light. That's what I thought when I was young, that I will go into these religions, I will find a pure light all the way. Of course, my human nature, society, culture, everything is drawing me in the opposite direction. I'm not saying I did it good enough. Maybe I didn't hold out. I wasn't patient. I had my own inner weaknesses that made me not stand on the grounds of the salvation that was in these two religions. But also, if you look at it with some kind of reflection, leave yourself out of it and look at the three religions themselves, you find a lot of corruption and trouble and problematic issues, both in the psyche, in the mentality, in the actions, in the way they organize society, in the way they use and misuse power, in that kind of hypocrisy where they can allow the leaders to do stuff they would forbid on the ordinary people. I've seen it a lot in the Muslim world. People who are rich and they on the surface they're trying to all uphold the law, but a lot of them are like not really persecuting the people in power because they don't have the power to do it, maybe, or maybe because they can see, well, yeah, they are by God's grace. And I've seen it also with the priests and the kings in the Christian world. By God's grace, do what you like, mister. Something like that. So, and you see the way the texts are being used, the way the religion is being used is really, really saddening, deeply saddening. You can't say that doesn't exist. And you cannot say that's just you. You are the weakness. You couldn't stand on the grounds of the light. Come on. There is some deep problematic trouble. And when I've talked about this in long discussions with these people I've met and talked to, they come to one point or another where they actually somehow realize or admit or comes to talk about, yeah, it is not a perfect thing I am part of. It's like in modern times when people go to join the KGB or CIA or whatever intelligence agency they think is the ruling the world and is the goodness, and they find all these intrigues and abuse and problems and what's your backstories and your brother is not your brother and you never know which snake is behind you and beside you. It's all really, really out of whatever you can imagine, and they get stuck in it. You can't get out. You got to speak about it. The same with secret societies. When people join some kind of secret societies hoping they will be part of some powerful entity that's going to change the world, and they find themselves stuck under the oath and whatever they do of rituals, and they find, oh my God, I'm left in a room with psychopaths and people who are only here for power and cynicism and whatever. Not saying there aren't good people among these. There must be. If there weren't good people in everything, it will be pure dark, and the light would never have reflected. The light reflects through us, through the humans, through these three old men walking in the woods. It doesn't just reflect through the nature and the stars. It also comes through the human actions. It lights on us, but also through us. So there is a lot of goodness in everything we actually see. We have to recognize that. But the darkness and the evil is there too. And now you ask me, well, where is this leading? Where are you going with this? Because you've described something we might know or don't care about or have left behind us. And many people get to a point, and I've been there, where they just leave these issues behind. Say, I will go live whatever life I got without wondering or thinking anymore about any of this, neither gods or prophets or monotheism or polytheism, or anything like that. I've just go on like the person who randomly is put into this life and randomly is going to go get out of it. If I get power, I'll try to use it or abuse it. If I don't, well, I will use and abuse whatever is around me. This is what many people are doing today. The egoism, what can you say, dissonance and distancing, the way we just don't want to think. We don't want to remember. We don't want to know. Whatever they tell you, whatever. I don't care. I don't want to think. I don't want to relate to it. So many people have given up that fight or just withdrawn. I know many people from the three monotheistic religions who have withdrawn. I don't know many, but I know about many who have withdrawn and changed their life and path and gone into isolation or trying to find their way through another group or another way. Some have become very hateful and gone attacking these three religions. And I was at that point at one time in my life where I was very close to trying to really, I just wanted to tear them down, because it's like some old houses with a lot of stuff. You cannot clean it up anymore. So much blood and so much hatred and darkness and diversions, and you can't see the truth among the words that's been written, on words that's been explained, on words that's been told, and all the people standing between you and finding the deep truth. Tear it down. And I ask God to tear it down sometimes. I hope this God who is looking and seeing everything say, you know, you three old men, your time is over. I'm going to put you to death. I'm going to take you out of the circulation, and something new will evolve, totally new, a new prophet, new message, but the same one God. And I know they say, no, 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 we are the last ones. Especially the Muslims, they are very keen on that. Muhammad, the last one, nothing comes beyond. And everything you need, you'll find in the Quran. And the Quran will be the great, the organizer of everything. And I have seen, to be honest, traits of the possibility of that. If you look deeply into the way the Quran has organized society and life, and the basic idea of the one God, you can, beyond that, if you look through your hatred and ignorance and what can you say, dark lenses, because that's the problem with many of us. When we look at something we don't like or heard negative about or seen negative things about, we don't want to judge it fairly anymore. We see it through those lenses. So if I've been a Jew and I got to a point where I'm fed up with the Jewish problems and I turn against it, I will basically see the dark sides more than I see the good sides. The same I've seen with Christians and Muslims. And I've been there. And I was lucky because I had some friends who helped me out of that, to see that the good things beyond and behind all that, it's not working and that's good. So if you look fairly at the Quran, I understand why the preachers there, they keep saying, one day this Quran will rule the world again, and the whole world, and it will become evident that the way it balances and organizes economic, social, and political life is of high quality and can work out. And it also organizes people's lives spiritually and put up the right limits and in the right places. I know many won't agree, and I don't partially agree on everything on that, but they would say there is only one way to do this, and this is go back to this organizing force that we have shown in history, which unleashes the potentials of the science and not waste it. And we have to put limits on the actions of men and women, make them understand their duties and responsibilities, and not only their lust and following their own roads of what they like to do. There's also what they have to do, what they must do upon God's face. And if the Jews and the Christians would join forces with the Muslims, they would get a brilliant world where monotheism is all over. I'm sure even the people in the East would see the basic value of that. But nobody agrees, of course. Many would disagree. The Quran, oh my God, we're going to put us as slaves again, and the woman would be put in harnesses, and we will be punished on the streets, and so on and so on. And the Turks will come and slaughter people again. Well, the sultans even slaughtered their own brothers and sisters at one point, so they don't oppose them on the throne. Yeah, that's the mercy of the love of the God, you can say. Yeah, it's very beautiful picture. Isn't it? I'm just saying that ironically. But people won't agree. But the Muslims themselves, especially the people carrying these understandings, because they have seen it in the Quran and in history, and I've studied it, there is something about it. You go to the Christians, they're waiting for God's kingdom, and they will say, Christ is upon us. It's soon, it's coming. That's why some of them have even made this politically, what can you say, politically available. They go and say we can see the signs of the coming of the last kingdom, where the Christ will be back and he will rule and he will separate the sheep from the wolves, and he will put everything in order, and they are really hopeful and waiting, and I understand that, and I follow that hope, and I love it too, because if it puts the world in order again, why not? Don't tell me this world we have built with all this cynicism and people starving and problems and ignorance and hatred is the perfect world. And some would say, well, there is no perfect world, let me just have what I have. And the Christ and the Christians would say, no, there is a better world, and it's coming, whether you like it or not. But so, a part of that will be the rise of the Jewish temple and the power of the Israelites. So they are helping that out, they think, by allying themselves with these political powers. And some go in the opposite direction. We don't hear a lot about them. The Christians who say no, it's by exactly opposing these forces that the Christ will show, because they will maintain the idea that the Christ will only show where there are good people left and opposed by so great bad powers that they are almost being eliminated. It's at that point that God won't let it happen, and the Christ will show, and we will have this order again in the last kingdom. Whether it's on earth or a new planet, or it's a revision of everything on earth so it becomes in a total balance, this is the big dream of the Christians as well. And the same, you go with the Jews. They say, well, God entrusted us with his light and his way, and people won't understand it. Most people in the world, they are really not available for that deep truth, but we are, and God has chosen us because he knows we can fulfill it and live up to it. And so they see that they have to push forward with their goals and agendas, because this is what they've been promised, and whatever they lost they will get back. So we're all waiting for this so-called perfect earth. And I know people who don't believe in the three religions or in one of them would just laugh at this and say, the world has always gone on with goodness and badness. But that's not really, that's what kind of claim is that? Everybody knows that. But what forces is pushing towards the betterment of humans, taking us out of the shadows? These three forces are in each their way pushing and keep re-pushing in that way. When you hear about kings from the Middle Ages, you hear about the pious kings and the good kings and the righteous kings. That's because they were affected by this inspiration they got from their religion, each by his own way. They get this inspiration that God is just, I have to be just. God gave me this responsibility to build and not destroy. I have to do it and live up to it. I know every of these three old men think they're the only ones thinking that, but they are all thinking it. They just don't know, many of them. And that's a sadness about it, the tragedy, that they don't know they're sharing a lot of deep values, and they can't get over the hatred, unfortunately. So maybe a whole new thing is needed. Even the humanistic ideas that we build on today, and the democratic, values, they also stem from some place in the Middle East, in the high Middle East, Middle Ages, in the Middle East. It's a Greek idea, and the Greeks were not all polytheists as we are meant to believe in these times. They have also had very big traits and values that really resounds the idea of the organizing force of the one source, one God, one nature of both human and everything around us. And so it goes for the Romans, and after them the Muslims, and so on. Yeah, well, this is what I got inspired to say about these three men, where I saw them as three happy fellows walking on the path and the road, and I saw monotheism behind it, because this is my big passion in life, to understand the secrets of that one God as much as I can, and to look at the source of light that he's been trying to send all the time, and we just keep losing and keep going astray from, and we don't understand maybe deeply. I'm not saying I'm understanding anything, but this is what's going on, and we're surely not alone. But it's sad, it's tragical, it's false pictures many times, longing for that harmony that's impossible as well, because we are, as humans, in movement. And these three religions understand that and have dealt with it. They know how to tame the beast. And this is maybe a talk I would like to talk more about.